Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Jean Olive, who's the CIO of John Hancock. John Hancock is a financial services organization, and they've been around for about 160 years now. Being a CIO, Jean is responsible for technology, strategy, and architecture at John Hancock. So lots of valuable experience there. Jean, can't wait to discuss these experiences with you and learn from your experiences. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jean, to begin with.
Yeah, I've been in technology my whole career. I was spending most of my career in engineering, starting at Raytheon Technologies, where I worked for more than 20 years on everything from design, development of new technologies. I also did a lot of work in supply chain and operations. At one point, I was the communications lead for the head of engineering and technology, and then I landed in IT, being part of a major transformation going into one product lifecycle management system for the company. So that brought me into, I think, the fun of IT and technology, really enabling people to be more efficient and effective with technology, but also learning a lot about change and change management. And that was very interesting. Then I went to Philips Healthcare, and after 2 years became the healthcare CIO. And that was really a great opportunity to work in a large global organization and supporting the business groups and the many factories across the globe that we had at Philips. Then I went to Schneider Electric and did another business transformation, really focused on energy management. And that was all during COVID. So that really brought me
Wow.
back to learning. Yeah, that was COVID. We stood up a large scale going to S/4HANA across all the United States, a $6 billion business, getting off a legacy system that had been there for many years. It was very high risk. And then COVID hit. And the good thing I learned about that really is that Agile's ways of working, and if you have a strong governance and cadence, we were able to actually have our first go live on November 1st in the middle of COVID with really great risk management and operational excellence, and did that. And then I kind of had an itch to get back into the health space. My dad had congestive heart disease, and his last 4 weeks of his life were pretty rough. Probably the last 3 to 4 months were pretty rough, but what I realized is it was during COVID and he was put in the hospital. And even my mother, they had been married more than 60 years. My mother couldn't even go see him in the hospital. So technology was good because we could FaceTime and talk to him, but the human interaction and connection is so important. And that's when I had an opportunity to go to Best Buy and be the chief technology officer for their health business, where we really were focused on enabling care at home, where you can get remote patient monitoring. And if my dad had that, not only would it have been better for him, peace of mind with my mom there with him taking care of us and all the children, but we would have had more access. The doctors would have really known what was going on with him, monitoring his vital signs, and been able to take better care of him virtually instead of having him get to a point that he had to go to the ER and be hospitalized for a week, to be really managing and monitoring the same vital signs that you can do at home. So I did that. And then I started to realize that so many people in the United States, especially, we have an amazing healthcare system, but in one way it's broken because for 4.3 trillion that we spend on healthcare, 90% of that spend is on 10% of the population, which is the chronically ill and mental health. And I do believe what brought me to John Hancock is our focus on healthier, better lives. And if we can improve people's health span by better managing and tracking and behavior change, we could shift that parameter and we could get people to live longer, healthier lives, because it's at a point you may live longer, but you're not living your best life. And can we do that? I really believe there's 4 things. You've got to eat well, sleep well, move more, and take care of your mental health. And in many cases, especially in the older populations, is that connection and looking at the loneliness factor. So that's what brought me to Hancock. And it's a great company, and I'm really happy. I celebrate my 1 year this week on Wednesday.
Wow,
So it's been a
congratulations,
very
Jean.
fast year. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing experience, lots of experience, Jean, lots to learn from you.
Yeah.
Let's dive in and talk about How do you balance the use of advanced technologies that all of us are talking about? It's a breakthrough. Technologies like generative AI with maintaining a strong human connection in customer service area like yours now.
Yeah, I know. I think it's so important. It's human connection, not only customer service, but in everything in the way that we act and interact. One of the things that does frighten me is even with my children, I have three children, they're all grown now. But when we started to bring in technology into the home, I remember when we first had the first desktop, paranoid as a mother, and it was right in the kitchen on a little desk, and you monitored them and watched what they were doing because I think that connection technology is great, enables us to do was we can be things so much faster and so much easier, but it can pull apart that human interaction, which is so important for each and every one of us. And I think really just setting those guardrails and guidelines. And I think it's very sad. I notice this all the time. You can go out to dinner, or we were on a cruise, and there's this family with two little boys, and they're sitting at dinner, and the boys have their iPads and these
Yeah,
plastic totes, and the parents are on their phone. And I was like, that is just so sad because you've got to shut your brain down, but you've got to have those conversations and that dialogue and that interaction. And how do you separate them? And it goes into the workforce, right? With AI, take away the wasteful tasks, make it easy and efficient because you don't want to get in these endless loops where you're not getting your answer, right? It's all speed to interaction. And then when you really need the customer intimacy, such as one of the things we have is a lot of long-term care plans that have contracts that are pretty complex. So we're building out what we call chat long-term care so that our agents can accurately and more efficiently answer the calls. Then the calls often come from someone like myself who would be a caregiver of a parent, or it could be an aging person trying to figure out what do they have and what can they utilize. Because ideally, you want to keep people at home. So we have a lot of services to help people live better at home so you don't have to get into a managed care facility. But really providing that service quickly but accurately. And that's why I think the
correct.
leverage of generative AI can really increase the speed to accuracy. And that's what we're focused on. So you don't take the agents away, you
Yeah.
get better agents. And then everybody that manages customer service organizations knows there can be a high attrition rate. The opportunities address your attrition rate. And then on the flip side, the opportunities within AI address your training, right? And your ability to get those agents up to speed and up to par.
That's great. I think with these technologies coming in, it's created a very good balance between creativity and accuracy. That is what we all have been waiting for these many years,
I think, yeah, I
especially in
love that
customer
creativity,
services.
right? Because you still need to be creative. You still need to have these ideas, but it also like it lets you do so much more too as a leader. For example, Friday, someone pinged me and said, it's so and so's 25th anniversary. So I was easy to get right into Office 365, generate a generic celebrating 25 years,
Oh, nice.
tailor it for that person based on what they're doing and post it on a team site in probably about 5 minutes. And I think without generative AI, it would have been like, okay, what do I say? What do I do? Or you could
Yeah.
even ask your comms lead to generate something, but it enables us to do a lot more, especially for our employees faster. And if you can do more, it takes those tasks like generating a job description is
Yeah.
excellent for that. That's one of those things we've all spawned, and then you try to search through, in better search too, but you're searching through and trying to find out, did I have one like this before? And is there one on LinkedIn that's similar? And now it's just bam.
I
You get
know.
the foundation, you tailor it, and then you get the work done. And you feel
Yeah.
good about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
at the end of the day, yes. It saves time and adds more structure to your day-to-day work.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, Jean, you've had a lot of executive roles in your prior
Mm.
experience, and even today, you are heading a big company. How would you describe your leadership style, and what strategies do you use to inspire and motivate your team, especially during these rapid
Yeah.
technological changes happening?
Yeah. I mean, I think my style is I'm extremely authentic. I have a lot of depth and breadth and experience. And so I also I'm not afraid to speak up and say the things that maybe other people in the room are thinking but don't want to say. That's the 360 feedback I actually get. I'm a people first person. I truly believe that we are nowhere, even with technology, you're nowhere without the people in your organization. And I want my team members, my teammates to be happy, right? We spend a lot of time at work. We
Yeah.
can't say that we don't. We want people to be happy and to have opportunities. And I think there's two things that's why people leave or why they're not happy is one
Yeah.
that you see a lack of opportunity. And that doesn't mean that a vertical opportunity, but a lack of opportunity. And what can I do next? And that we managers, that we have not given them the right training and skills to be good managers. I do believe everybody gets up in the morning and is going to work and wants to be the best they can. Sometimes they get there and then we as leaders can screw them up. I'm extremely extroverted. Being on teams and projects energizes me, but I also realize too that I try to be empathetic and compassionate that, especially in technology, we do have many introverts and this type of
Yeah.
stuff sucks out their energy. So
Yeah.
how do we have that balance? But I think really making sure that you spend time with your teammates, that you promote a people first strategy, and really people, they want to know that you care. And give your time to them because that's what we are. That's really what's important as leaders is that we give our time to people and learn from them as well, because I think especially in technology we can't keep up with everything, right? I will never be a cloud architect, right? I will never be an expert in cloud engineering, but I can learn from the expertise with my team what I need to know. And that's the thing is like the technologies are advancing so fast. But I think we're also at a point now that, Chat GPT, now it's been 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Almost three, yeah.
They came
two
out in
years, right?
2019.
Yeah, and so I think it's really getting everyone across the organization, because as CIO, I'm really responsible for deploying technology across my whole organization. Everyone is excited now about technology, even though AI has been there for a long time, right? We were working algorithms and machine learning probably 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
None of this is really new, but the generative approach to it and the ease of use, whether it's through generative AI or power apps, they're all part of the whole AI. There is an excitement, and now people, they're not afraid. How many people want to go learn how to program in the past, right? If you think about some of these program languages we had to learn, they were very complex, but now there's with power apps, and even Python is a very easy to use platform.
Yeah, these tools have actually made the life of software developers a little bit easy because earlier they used to spend a lot of time just debugging
Debugging.
codes.
That's yeah, that's what our team is finding, especially in
Oh,
the early adopters, is that it's a significant, I don't know so much about it's when you're developing the core code, it's helpful, but it's no different than anything else, right? It's eliminating some of the waste because the debugging capabilities is significantly changing. And especially in developers, like we have a shortage of 500,000 developers in the US. So if we
yeah.
can enable our developers to do more, to be more efficient, take away that kind of burdensome work, then we're going to deliver more value to the business, which is what we're here to do. So I saw on a TV show, a leading executive was talking about who would want to be a software developer now. And I'm like, oh my God, you cannot say that. But I think that people don't understand it. You will always need developers, right? We're always going to need engineers.
Yeah, that's how you can drive innovation with them. Yeah, that's great to know. I believe you've dealt with moving your workloads your entire life to cloud. You must
Yeah.
have seen the challenges with cloud and data security, especially. How do you deal with that with this increasing complexity of cloud services and third-party dependencies?
I
What do you
know,
think are the
it,
key challenges you face
it,
ensuring?
yeah, it is a challenge whether you're insourcing or outsourcing. I mean, I always say you're only as strong as your weakest link, and now you don't really know what your weakest link is, right? And there's so many variables. You get to a point that it's not if, it's really when. So you need to really think about what's your resiliency and what's your business continuity if something happens. And I mean, we did have a breach with a third party that we had to work through, and that was very difficult. It's on the public knowledge. And it was my first time I had ever had an incident that you were almost like I compared it to getting up when you're traveling a lot and you're bouncing from hotel to hotel and it's in the middle of the night and you're trying to get up and go to the bathroom. It's pitch black. You're like, where am
Yeah.
I? I don't want to walk in a wall or trip. And that's how it feels. And you live through that. So then you have to find ways to protect your assets, whether they're internally or externally. And it was funny because I had a ask me anything with my team and I was like, I'm not concerned. Something like a Microsoft Azure, the cloud itself and the security of Microsoft is best in class in the investments they have. So you're not worried about. But then 2 days later, CrowdStrike hits. And even though it was not, Microsoft had protected itself, but that's where all this big interconnected.
Yeah.
It's not just your house, right? You're interconnected. You will probably be impacted externally. And it goes back to how fast can you pivot and respond? And for even CrowdStrike, because in the financial services insurance business, we leverage many third parties because of we have a B2C to C to often C business. And they were impacted, even though my employees weren't impacted. We didn't have any issues logging in or doing that, but the applications that they use were impacted. And then you think about it too, and it's like, it's how quickly you can react, no different than anything in cyber, right? How do you respond? And now it gets to a point like when you respond, what decisions do you make? And I think about, I'm a loyal Delta customer, but Delta like over canceled flights on a
Yeah.
Friday in the summer where some of the other airlines didn't cancel, they just postponed, and their impact was a lot less. Even though Delta was back up and running, the impact wasn't from the cause was CrowdStrike, but the effect was because of the way they responded, right? Not your ability to respond or that your backup or whatever it is. And then in the airline industry, right, it just becomes crazy. So I think it's really interesting. I think it's one of those things nobody really gets excited about thinking about business continuity planning and resiliency and the ability to react. But it's in the world that we live in today, it's probably one of our number one things to think
Yeah.
about
Concern.
and to act on.
Yeah. Every day we see new things keep coming up, and suddenly we have to stop everything and we have to just solve these problems on a day-to-day basis. I
Yeah. And
understand.
I think about what privacy and data is there such a thing right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of companies dealing with this. So
We all
hoping we
get
get a
letters in the
solution.
mail, right? You get letters in the mail and you're like, I don't even know what this is coming from. And then
Yeah.
they don't tell you what part of your data was actually compromised. So then you're like, what does this really mean? You just have to stay on top of everything and watch and monitor.
Yeah. I was talking with you earlier, and it seems that you are a passionate advocate of DEI, Jean. So, what do you see as the most significant barrier to diversity and inclusion in the tech industry today? And how do
Yeah.
you think that can be addressed?
Yeah, the tech industry is different. First of all, we have to be able to say it's different in tech because we do not have, especially in the US. I know for India, we do not have enough women going into technology professions. India, it's a different, you're going in, you're getting the degrees, then the challenges follow, right? Because of the culture and the expectations of women. So I think you have to realize there's global differentiations, it's cultural, but in the US, we just don't have the numbers of women going into tech. So we need to step back and you have to look at it through the whole like life cycle of the process. Like how do you get more children excited about tech? How do we stop those gender biases in those thinking? She's like, my daughter's super smart in math. She used to get in trouble because she could calculate. She didn't write everything down and she could
Mm.
give the answer and she didn't have all the work done. I remember the teacher saying she has to write down the work. And I think thinking, well,
Explain
she's like me,
everything.
figure this and that. But then all of a sudden it became like, I'm not smart in math because I wasn't doing the problem solving right. And then it's not cool to be smart in math. And so I think that, our education systems really have to promote math and science. We need to get children interested and aware of the opportunities that are presented in them. And then I think we have to try to get the feeder pool even with education systems and universities. We've got to stop this. I remember when I went to school, you sit in the chemistry class and they're like, look to the left and look to the right. One of you won't be here next year. And what kind of message is that to send? And that is changing. I see many universities, because it's not about interests. People are interested in still going in math and science careers. The attrition rate drops.
Yeah.
So UMass has like dorms that are focused on engineering students. My nephew's going to Oklahoma Tech. He went in 2 weeks during the summer for testing and getting him ready and making sure he's prepared for the classes he's going ahead. So I do think as a society and an educational system, we are focused on caring, of feeding, of coming in. I think then when we get into the workforce, we have to really make sure that we really address the conscious and unconscious biases and understanding what's holding women back and also the challenges. Because I do believe the world is focused more on parenting, and it's great to see paternity leaves instead of just maternity leaves. It's great we're encouraging fathers to take these leaves as well, because I think it goes both ways. But at the end of the day, for females, especially if we have children, we're still the mother. They're in our wombs for 9 months. It is different. And I do believe it is different. But I think we got to look at it in the workforce as one, women need to take care of women. We need to help them. We need to promote them. And we got to get rid of this mentality that I've seen that women think, well, it's a hard knocks. It was twice as harder for me to get ahead. And I had to do this or do that. Or in many cases, I didn't have children so that I could pursue a career. That's your decision, but don't hold other women back. We need to help women because we all have our own story, and we need to leverage allies, and especially we need to get our peers speak up about these issues. I don't have a problem calling it out. Like, okay, I just sat through 2 days in an executive briefing center and I didn't see one woman presenting, and representation matters. And I will say that. But I do think it's more impactful if one of my peers who's a man says that, right? Because it becomes very defensive. Well, we didn't have anyone here. And you have to be very purposeful, and you have to give doors and open opportunities to women. I've heard this time and time again from Hillary Rodham Clinton. It's this kind of like fact that we think we have to have 9 out of 10 qualifications to apply for a role, where males are, you will just jump and say, okay, I got 3 out of 10, that's good enough. And I'm going to go for it. And so how do we encourage that like balance to get the right people? At the end of the day, you want to have the right people in the right role, regardless of gender diversity, but how do we help women and the underrepresented? It's not just women, it's people of color. The underrepresented need that help and support, because that's a whole different challenge. That's even greater than what we have. You have to talk about it. You have to look at the numbers. You have to look at the attrition. It's the whole employee life cycles. That's how I look at my DEI plans. Like, how do we attract the talent? How do we retain, develop, engage, and recognize the talent as well? You can't just bring in, get to a 50-50 male, women, or get great diversity, people of color, but you've got to understand the cultural differences and always be mindful of it throughout your whole employee life cycle.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Jean, on this. And someday I would like to discuss it at length with you because I
This is
see
when I'm
this.
never going to stop. Like someone said to me, Lenny, you're going to, stop focusing on that. Probably the day they put me in my box or whatever it may be, because I don't think I ever really thought about it, a lot of it, till we had probably a graduated class about 40. There was about 5 women. You didn't really think about it so much. That was for the chemical engineering. But then when you look back and you think about it, yeah, you always are swimming upstream, but we want to be swimming downstream with everybody and just make it a lot easier for us all to be in the same lane and have the representation.
Yeah, I agree with you. Coming back to the emerging technologies, Jean and I talk a lot about emerging technologies because that's close to me, and
Yeah.
I've grown up with the emergence of active data in the AI world. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the no code, low code platforms that companies are adopting. How do you see these tools transforming business processes and especially enabling the non tech teams to contribute more to providing more innovative tech solutions?
Yeah, you have to have a strategy. In fact, I'm going to be meeting with my teammates from operation on that. And I think that if you bring them in right up front, knowing that you still have to follow a software development life cycle and knowing there's still going to be some back end connections, but really, what is defining your strategy, right? Are you willing to invest in this? And at Manulife, we are significantly investing in Power Apps and that platform I think you've got to whoever your technology partner is, partner with them to have them come and help you work the strategy and then identify opportunities and get to those quick wins. And you can get the quick wins, but you've got to have that strategy and you've got to lay down some ground rules. Like, we're going to use this for this because right now there's so much out there that now everybody has like their preferred partner of choice, and it can't be all over the map, right? You've got to, because really for resourcing skills and overall cost effectiveness, right? So getting that strategy defined and then getting some quick wins and engagement and excitement around it. And this is the world today, right? You've got to let it go. No different than years ago when we first started having desktops, right? We shared
Yeah,
desktops, right? And
shared.
now you're in a world that we're pretty much completely mobile and everybody's got their own laptop and you manage it, right? But you can't have a company asset and just let any kind of, you've got to control, you got to lock down the laptops. You can't have people downloading and using whatever they want. So it's the same. I think technology, even though it feels like it's going so fast, it's been the same story, right? Like it's but a different chapter. Like we just keep building on it and going back to what you've learned from your past and how are you going to implement that. But it is exciting, and it's nothing that we should be as CIOs fearful, or my team members should be. A full stack developer is not going to lose his job because we have low code, no code.
Yeah. More
And
importantly, I've seen with these kind of tools on the business side, especially the operations team, it's giving way to more self-serve, managing the processes and analytics behind it. So it's giving them the power to decide things on the spot.
yeah, they have to have that. I'm doing that with setting up a global customer service organization. It was a big ordeal because we had 3 people who were doing low code, no code work move to that team. And some people on my team were a little concerned about that. And I was like, this is going to help them just be faster. And
Yeah.
it's provided new opportunities for them and to really help an organization that's to get to a global contact center. In my peer, this woman that was brought in from AT&T, we think it's so fast and automated. So she's got the experience. She knows how to do this. So I wasn't concerned that we were trying to have someone learn on the fly, someone that has that experience and how support each other in setting up the organizations. And you can't have I have to build my empire mindset. You really have to say, I need to enable business growth. I need to take out efficiencies. I need to make sure that my customers, if you think about your customers, that's you're really trying to do it for your customers, right? Because
Yeah.
you want them to have the overall best experience.
Yeah, we are on time. Jean, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Uh, yeah, it was fun talking to you and looking forward to having more podcasts with you and discussing about other things as well
All
that we
right.
could not cover in this session. So thank you very much for your time today.
You're
Uh,
welcome. Thank you for pulling me in, Monica. I appreciate it.
thank you, Jean.